Welcome to Moving Matters, where we deal with all things that move and shift the world. Well, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to Q's Corner. This is Studio A, where we just kind of give you the brief introduction about what will be moving as a matter today. And with that said, who we've got in the Studio B, in the dialogue desk, is going to be awesome. Don't make me start singing the matters that move us today. But we have a very special guest that we are going to be dialoguing with about all things that move in the air. And with that said, I don't want to give too much away. You're just going to have to join us in the dialogue or at the dialogue desk so that you could get in on the conversation. Trust me, this is one you don't want to miss. So, without further ado, pay attention to the little video clip that we've got coming up for you, and you will be delighted to join us at the dialogue desk. So, without further ado, let's get moving. Well, good evening, and welcome to Moving Matters. Well, once again, we got to deal with all matters that move and shift the world. But today, we're going to deal with it as it relates to the air, the atmosphere above us. And we have a awesome and very special guest with us this evening for this episode that deals with the air. None other than Tamara Holmes. She is a graduate of Southern Illinois University with her aviation management degree, and I'm telling you, this young lady is absolutely amazing with the things she is doing. She has a couple of different organizations and businesses that she do, of which they are helping our young people get up and make a move. So, all of the bullet points are scrolling across the screen. You see her beautiful face, none other than Tamara Holmes. Welcome to Moving Matters. Go ahead and address the people and tell them hello.
Well, thank you, Q, so much for having me on today. I'm so excited to be a part of your broadcast and your show, your live stream. It's just been a pleasure to connect with my sisters, connect with my spiritual family, to continue to share the work that we do in aviation and aerospace education. And I'm really, really looking forward to the conversation with all of you guys this evening.
All right, so let's just get started. As you would say, we get ready to take off, right?
That's right.
So here we are. We are on the runway, and we're going to take off with a couple of things. Number one, in 2008, you started and you were the birth and foundation of AeroStar Consulting Corporation. Then that wasn't enough. If that wasn't enough, if having your aviation management degree was not enough, then in 2016, you took it even further and created AeroStar Avion Institute. We're going to get into all of that. If you have not done it yet, you guys want to grab your young people, because this is an advocate for the young people. And I'm telling you, by the time we get to the end of this episode, you are going to be just as inspired by her, intrigued by her, and interested in the programs that this young woman is literally taking off and soaring into the air. She is giving wings to dreams. Is that not right?
Yes, it is.
All right, so let's just jump right in. Tell us about not just the consulting corporation, but tell us also about AeroStar. And by the way, how did you come up with that name?
It's funny that you asked me that question. Not too many people ask me that question. As a young person, I've always been, as a person, my personality has always been very energetic. And one of my colleagues would always say, superstar. They would call me superstar, a lot of them around the office. I came in dressed in power suits, makeup was always done, hair was always done. And I literally became like an aviation superstar. And that's what they always called me. I mean, I was 22, 23 years old in corporate, and they would always be like superstar, every time I show, like, you're the superstar. And so when I thought to name the company, when I originally sent the paperwork off to the Secretary of State, it was named Holmes Consulting Corporation. And they rejected the paperwork because somebody had already used that name in the state. And so in reapplying, God dropped the name AeroStar in my spirit, and it's literally Aviation Superstars. And so that's where it came from.
All right. So see, when I think of the name AeroStar, I literally broke the words apart. Aero, which you are a straight shooter. Let's just be clear about that. And you are a star because you shine so bright in what you do. You're not only putting something out there that is unique and that is very different in aviation, you are really taking it to new heights and levels. And you're bringing it into communities that are otherwise either underserved or just underdeveloped as it relates to STEM, which is this is a part of. Is that correct?
Yes. And so one of the biggest things, when you say aero and a straight shooter, we see aero as AERO, which is the universal term recognition for all things in the air and space. And so arrows, of course, ARROW, are all they're aerodynamic. So it's kind of like a play on words, arrow. So I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
See what I did there? So when I think about you, Miss Tamara, and you and I have a little bit of history, which we're not going to go into that. We'll do that when we come back and do the Instagram, which we're going to have to do a different day because I kind of told you I'm dealing with something today that is going to take my attention away. But you all don't, hold on, don't get mad, because when this young lady comes on the Instagram on Movin Matters, we're going to really dialogue. We're going to talk about being women in business. We are going to deal with it all. But let me stay on point because you and I, we could just talk and we have a lot to talk about. But let's stay focused for the people. So with AeroStar Avion Institute, I saw on your website, which we'll put that across the screen so the people can see and follow along with what you're doing. I saw that you have different levels of program with AeroStar. So tell us a little bit about the different levels that you deal with the programs that you offer.
Well, the AeroStar Avion Institute specializes in aviation and aerospace education from kindergarten to career. And a lot of people say, how in the world are you teaching kindergarten is aviation? The same way you're teaching them math, the same way you're teaching soccer, the same way you're teaching them baseball, the same way they're memorizing lyrics to whole songs and words to movies in their favorite programs. So our first level of programming is Aero Sparks, and that's AERO Sparks. So that's where we ignite the spark for all things aviation. This is kindergarten through fourth grade. This is mostly focused around how things fly, balloons, vacations, getting on an airplane and taking a trip with mom and dad, taking a trip to the airport, being able to look up in the sky and see an airplane, flying kites. And so we talk to young people about how aviation is really a part of their everyday life already. The next one is the AeroStar's Aviation Exploration Program, which is really all about kids exploring aviation as it relates to their particular subjects in school. Science, math, social studies, language arts. We bring aviation into the classroom for young people to make the connections between what I'm learning in school and what aviation is to me. So we do things like talk to kids about how do you see aviation in the real world and name a career that doesn't have anything to do with aviation. And they're like, oh, Miss Holmes, I know, basketball players. And I'm like, well, when Toronto plays Cleveland, how do you think they get to those games? You know, I personally know the pilots that fly for several of the sports teams in Chicago. And then when we get to the high school level, we're talking about the AeroStar's aviation apprenticeship programs. This is where we really get into science, technology, engineering, and math, and directing kids on a pathway that's the best fit for them based on their skills, aptitude, and interest in aviation and aerospace. We literally start training kids how to use the flight simulator, fly drones, use remote control helicopters, remote control aircraft, design airports, meet aviation professionals. We've taken some amazing field trips with our partner Boeing and United Airlines. They flew us down to Charleston, South Carolina. 30 kids on an airplane. The pilot was shouting us out over the radios. We got AeroStars on the plane. And this is all about getting kids on the trajectory to become what they're going to be when they grow up. And we just launched 2 years ago the Aero Ambassador Program. This is for our AeroStar alumni. This is all college and career readiness, workforce skills, professional development, resume writing, interview prep, mentoring, job shadows, internships, and employment placement and college selection assistance. On top of that, we are launching now, which is probably my first interview, which I'm sharing with you live, our Aero Work program. Aero Work is a brand new concept that we developed to help promote licensure and certification in the aviation industry. And our first class started on Saturday. It is the Introduction to Drones class, and that is the prerequisite for drone licensing. Yes, we will be licensing young people with FAA Part 107 actual drone licenses for kids to become certified a drone licensed pilot. With that license, they can go work for photography studios, they can work for real estate companies, they can start their own drone business at 16 years old.
Because drones are getting into almost everything.
Amazon.
Yes, and you start
medical supplies.
You're starting them off as kindergartners, and there's a place for them to go and graduate through every step of your program, even into the marketplace and the profession of aviation. And now you and I talked about a gentleman, and you were saying, that sometimes, when you take these kids and these young people up in the air, it gives them a different perspective of not just life, but their life. It gives them another opportunity to really look at things that they are capable of. And so I know, that you grew up, here in Illinois, in Maywood. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the things that you shared was, you understand, being a young person and not having some of those opportunities. Now, here you are being a creator, not just a developer and a director and a CEO and a founder, but you're giving direction to these young people's lives that they otherwise may not have had an introduction to. Thereby, you are an advocate for STEM. You are an advocate for young people at risk, young people underserved, young people that would never have been served had it not been for what you do. So with that said, we're going to play a short little video. And when I found this little clip, I already told them you've been featured on NBC, you've been featured on Fox, you've been featured in Forbes, not one time, but a few times. And when we come back after this clip, talk a little bit about the clip and Forbes magazine.
I'd like to shed some light on something. Even in 2019, diversity in companies is being fought for every day. And when we don't see diversity in the workplace, people like to blame it on a lack of education and skills. Well, one woman wanted to be a part of the solution. Meet Tamara Holmes. She created AeroStar, one of the only female and African-American owned aviation companies in the world. She wanted to get kids off the streets in Chicago and give them an opportunity to build skills that would take them to new heights. So she launched AeroStar Avion Institute, a nonprofit program that not only exposes kids to aerospace and aviation, but also gives them the hands-on training they'll need to have successful careers. The program is completely free, and since 2016, 640 kids have enrolled in the program. These kids have gone on to become licensed pilots. Some are active duty military, and others are in college majoring in aviation. So Tamara, thank you for what you're doing to change the direction of lives through kids, for opening doors for them and allowing these kids to experience something they never thought they were capable of doing.
Look at you. When I say you are making matters move and you're moving the matter and doors are opening, continue right there, Miss Tamara. Tell us about your experience through that video clip from none other than who? Mr. Harvey himself. And also, now you're one of the only aviation countries around the world. Let me stop talking. This is your floor. You go ahead. You tell us.
And you know what? It's still so surreal to me to look at people of that stature actually saying my name out of their mouth, and then and then them talking about what I'm doing. And sometimes I watch it and all just like everybody else. Like, did Steve Harvey just say my name and he pronounced it right? I mean, it was really surreal. That also happened when we did NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, and I got friends calling me saying, "Tam, I'm in a cab in New York, and you're on the back of you're in the TV on the cab. Like, how you get on the back of the TV seat in the cab? I'm in New York." And I'm like, "Are you serious? They playing that in New York?" All the publicity, all of the media, all of the notoriety, all of the awards that we get, every opportunity that I get to stand up in front of an audience.
Yeah.
It's all about the work,
Yeah.
That gets people listening to what we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And too many times the narrative is, saving Black kids from themselves and their community and the hood. When I'm thinking, I had to save myself from my community and from the hood. And it's not because I wasn't smart enough. It was that the opportunities to do bad were way more prevalent in my community than the opportunities to do good. And so I had to make a choice and create an avenue for myself to be able to use resources, use connections, use my brain. And I didn't always get it right. I found myself in the back of a police car. I found myself considering being a drug dealer. I found myself considering joining a gang. Of course, that was my environment. So what I do every day, what Steve Harvey and what Forbes and what everybody is so intrigued about, is that we succeeded. That's where the intrigue comes from. It's the success. Because the expectation is for them to go to jail, for me to have been pregnant at 14 to 15 years old, for me to have gotten caught up in the system. That was the expectation. So for me to beat the expectations by a landslide, now that's turning on light bulbs everywhere. Now for me to duplicate that 1,000 times over, it's like, what is she doing? We found
it's 1,000 times over, because he mentioned, the number of young people that have come through your program.
Those just the kids that have enrolled in program. Those aren't the kids that we're mentoring. Those aren't the kids that call me from all over the country and inboxes from all over the world. I'm trying to be a pilot. How can you help me? I got to use translator apps to try to figure out what people are trying to say to me. Parents calling me, my son is in trouble. I just need him to be interested in something. Can you talk to him? What we do is so important, but it's so simple. We're giving kids
partners that are with you. Talk about,
my goodness.
You have Boeing and the Tuskegee. Would you tell the people about who your partners are and the fact that you've done some things. I mentioned Forbes, but you've done some things. But before I get too off track, tell the people who your partners are.
Well,
You know,
our partners have been amazing. First of all, we've had partners for over a decade. Before, when I was running a consulting corporation, we had a lot of people who supported because I left the aviation industry, and I don't know if we talked about this, but I spent 10 years as a professional airport planner. So when I left corporate to start my own company, I brought all of my friends in my Rolodex with me. And not only that, we all grew up in the aviation industry together. So now I have friends that's, in very high places all over the country and over the world. And so when I make phone calls, I get responses because I have a track record now. Our number one partner and funder right now is the Boeing Company. They have done an incredible job and supported us. They were the first corporation to believe in us as a nonprofit. The very first check we got was a 7-figure check from the Boeing Company. It wasn't $50 from grandma. It wasn't my family sliding me a little donation. The first deposit in the bank was 7 figures from a global aviation corporation. The second deposit was from a second global aviation corporation, United Airlines. And the third partnership was NASA. And I said, if I can get Boeing, United, and NASA within a year of me starting this nonprofit, I know that we're on to something. And that was years ago. And I'm telling you, we now partner with the Chicago Department of Aviation. We partner with Chicago Housing Authority. We partner with the Federal Aviation Administration.
wow.
We partner with Elizabeth Morse Charitable Trust. We partner with Millhouse Charities, which is one of the premier Black engineering firms in the country right now. Our partnerships, we partner with Chicago Public Schools.
Awesome. Because now let me just mention a couple of things here. So, she's going to blush a little bit, or but her humility is something else I must mention. It's just incredible, which is why he can open the kind of doors for you that he's opening, because it's not for you, it's through you.
That's right.
To the air, and I'm gonna keep saying this part. You're giving wings to dreams.
That's
to
it.
people that have either forgotten how to dream or their life is a nightmare.
We own that now, Wings to Dreams. We actually trademarked it, and it belongs to
That's
us.
a good thing. Exactly. I saw it right.
It's on the
No, I was looking.
business first.
So, yes. So you've been given some recognition and some awards for the things that you are doing, and I only can suspect that it's going to get greater from here. So you've gotten awards you've got the Bessie Coleman Aviation Award from the Chicago Defender Charities. You've also, now this is one that really blessed my life, is you received, I'm going to talk about this other one just on the tail end, but you received, and this was when you were inducted, not just received, you were inducted into the Aviation Hall of Fame for your work. And you received the other awards, but the Spirit of Flight Aviation Hall of Fame. So talk about that, plus the fact that this other appointment that you received that very few have received. You're the only aviator that is on this particular board. Tell the people about that, because see, I could talk about you and give them all this other stuff, but I want you to talk about that in particular.
My induction into the Illinois Aviation Hall of Fame was something that came as a complete surprise. I knew that the work that we were doing was creating impact, and the word was getting out. That award and that induction was for the organization, and I am the second youngest person, African American outside of Bessie Coleman, who was inducted posthumously to be inducted into the Illinois Aviation Hall of Fame. That award is given to persons or organizations who have changed the landscape and impacted aviation for the better for the entire state. Now, I'm speaking by faith that we will be inducted into the National Aviation Hall of Fame, because we will change the landscape of what the aviation and aerospace aviation industry looks like across this country. And that leads me to the second thing that you mentioned, which is my federal appointment to the to the Federal Aviation's administration's, this is a long name, Youth Access to American Jobs in Aviation Task Force. I am the only African American aviation professional that sits on that federal task force, and there's only 17 people in the country that was selected by the Secretary of Transportation to be on that task force. And for those of you who don't know, the Secretary of Transportation is a direct appointment of the President of the United States. So I basically became the Dr. Fauci of youth aviation in the country.
Yes. And see, with doors like that open, you can take not just what you do, but even the dynamics of as it's growing, because you just added another piece to your program, with the job placement and the job readiness that you're doing. So with that said, Miss Tamara, I know that there are people who are learning about, aviation, these young people, their parents, and so thereby their communities. So you're impacting not just the person, you're impacting what could be generations. So what would you say to inspire somebody who's watching this, or somebody who's just kind of, going, well, I like that, but I'm not quite sure how to get into that. What would you say to them to inspire them to make a move and to make it a great move like you are?
My inspiration would just be, what resources did you not have to pursue your dreams? And what could you have been if someone had did for you what I can do for your child? That's a powerful question to ask. A lot of parents feel like their hands are tied when their kids come home and say they want to be, or they want to do, or they want to participate in something that they can't afford, something that they don't know about, something that they might be apprehensive about, something that's the wildest dream. Like, kids come home and say, I want to be a doctor. Okay, every kid wants to be a doctor. What would you say if a doctor came to you and said, I'm going to make your kid a doctor? I'm going to make your kid a doctor from kindergarten until he graduates from college. And then when he graduates from college and gets his MD, we're going to make your child a doctor, just like we make professional ball players, and we make rap artists. We make them. We make that happen as a culture. That's what we support. That's what we promote. That's what we put in front of kids as a reality. And so my inspiration to parents are, don't worry about cost. We got you. 90% of our programs run for free or at a significantly reduced cost. Don't worry about time. Your kid needs something to do anyway. And please, do not ask your kid if they want to be in our program or if they're interested. They have no clue. And a lot of parents make the mistake of saying, well, I'm going to go home and check with my son or my daughter and see if they're interested in their vid. I'm like, no, don't do that. Pick them up and bring them to program, and make them enroll in a program for 6 to 10 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then, do you ask your kid if they want to take swimming lessons? No, it's a survival skill. Your kid needs to learn how to swim. Do you ask your kid?
Now you said something. It's a survival skill.
What we teach our survival skills.
Is that you're teaching a survival skill.
Exactly what we do.
A whole different. I'm gonna do another play on words here. A perspective, as you said, well, they're gonna get some fresh air. They're gonna get some air, and when they come to you, there is this legacy of plan that you are putting forth, not just the effort, but the efficiency therein to educate them on not just what they can do, but who they are and what they're capable of. And so, Tamara, you are one of those people that I must say, I'm glad, I'm honored and thrilled to not just know, but I've been, I told you this already. I was a secret stalker from a long time ago.
You would be the first person to tell me that.
Well, when I heard it as a Black woman, to know that here's a Black woman in aviation. And not only are you in aviation, the grounds you are breaking and the ceilings you are shattering really is a great move, especially at a time like this, where we're in the news and we're on the front page for a whole lot of reasons. Yeah. I want to make a prediction as well as a proclamation. You're going to be on the front page, and you're going to be one of those sought after people, not just because you're on appointed boards and you're appointed this and that, but because your time to do what you do is right now.
It's right
It's
now.
a great move for people to connect with. You're going to see, scroll across the screen, the way to reach out to Miss Tamara Holmes. You're going to see how you can connect your child. And like she said, parents, don't go asking your children if they want to be great. If they become a part of this, greatness will be manifested in their life.
And let me say this. I have an incredible career in aviation because my mother woke me up on a Saturday morning, told me to get dressed and go somewhere with my little brothers and sisters. I had an attitude the whole time. We pulled up downtown, and I thought that we were going to spend the day at the museum, the Field Museum, and I'm not gonna speak negatively about Chicago attractions, but if I had to choose anywhere that I didn't want to go, it would be the Field Museum. And I could not believe that when we showed up and we made a veer off to the right, that we showed up to an airport, literally on the lakefront, which was Meg's Field. And Meg's Field, there when we walked in, there was a bunch of black guys giving kids airplane rides, and the pilot took me up and asked me if I wanted to fly the plane. All because my mother made me get up on a Saturday morning, do something that I didn't want to do. So this is why I tell parents, don't go check with your kid to see if they want to join the aviation program. They don't know any. They don't know anything.
They don't know. That's like asking them, "What would you like for me to fix for you for dinner, or breakfast, or lunch today?" You're gonna have what's in this house.
They got a better idea of
what greatness on promise. Take them to it, and so that's what you present. You all know I can really talk to this young lady forever. So you're going to catch us. Well, I'm going to do what I said because I got some stuff to handle for a personal friend that transitioned. So I got to make a transition and I got to shift my move. But you will see this young lady again because I already know several of you are going to say, how do I reach her? How do I get my children involved? Especially if you're, living in a situation where you know your kid has got greatness in them. You just need to attach them to where greatness can soar through them. I told you this episode dealt with the moving matters in the air. And this is a conductor of the air. This is a director of the air through aviation, through AeroStar Avion Institute. Connect with her. You see it scrolling across the screen. If you have any more questions or comments, you can connect with us on either the Movin Matters Nation on our Facebook group. Of course, you can give your responses on YouTube, but you got to subscribe in order for me to respond. And we're also on Instagram and Twitter and all of the social media platforms, but she is as well. So we're going to put across the screen how you can reach her on these social media platforms, as well as her, scrolled again, you'll see it again, her website to contact her. Look at the program. Maybe you want to donate. You can donate on there as well to lift up, somebody's child. You don't have to be Boeing with a 7-figure, check, but you could definitely give something as a love gift, to this organization that is making a difference and making it matter. And these are the kind of people that we will continue to bring forth on this talk show program broadcast. Trust me. It's all about the moving matters that move the world. And Miss Tamara, you are moving the world, and you're doing it from a great perspective. And what you do matters to us. And we want to say thank you again for being on this segment. I kind of feel that she's going to be on here several times because as her program is elevating, we want to bring it to you so that you know there are people in the world making great moves.